City County Health Director Annette Rodriguez says the Avalon Halfway House in Corpus Christi has seen more positive coronavirus tests. She says the total number of positives at that facility is now 8. There's 7 residents and 1 staff member. The situation definitely a concern not only to those at the facility but also their relatives.
I know that they're all there for a purpose and that most of them need to be there for a certain reason or the other, but they do. I wish they could try to space them out more. And, you know, I know grocery stores put up those plexiglass between them and their customers. Maybe they could do something along that line on the beds or put dividers between the chairs.
Rodriguez says local experts have visited the facilities and they say they were actually impressed that they had a plan to deal with an outbreak. Residents who've tested positive are separated from the others, they say, just as much as they possibly can be.